Thank you so much for coming. I see all of you in your bright colors and paintings. I'm so happy that you are all here today. My name is Jocelyn Joan, and I'm a registered nurse. I am a sleep science coach, and I'm also a certified health coach. I've had to be pretty smart actually to earn all these fancy credentials, but I think the smartest thing I've ever done so far is to really take time to listen and to reshape and honor my own definition of success, to make sure that my definition of success actually aligns with what brings me joy, what brings me vitality, and what brings me fulfillment. And so today I've entitled my talk, How to Reshape Your Success for a Healthier, Joyful, and Fulfilling Life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on a journey on how my definition of success has evolved over the years, and how incomplete definition of success has actually got me in trouble and deprived me of joy, deprived me of life. I like to call it soul sucking. It really sucked the soul out of me, and it compromised my health and took me to a really dark place. But the good news is I'm here today, living my daydream, feeling happy and joyful. Indeed, I can say that I am fulfilled and I do feel joy inside of me. I acknowledge joy around me, and it's a beautiful thing. So let's go then. We're gonna start. I'm gonna get you to follow me on this journey. All right? So we're going to start in Burundi. So Burundi is in East Africa. And that's where I was born, in the capital city called Bujumbura. And at around, maybe I was 7, 8 years, around there. I remember, well, before that, I remember seeing my parents had a grocery store. They also had a restaurant. And my dad called the restaurant a very interesting name, which basically translates as, it's the tummy that's functional, meaning like if you really fed yourself, everything else is functional. It's like Hakora Munda. So it's like, if you want to be functional, stop by our restaurant and eat something. Anyways, I remember having a really interesting, happy childhood, going to school, which was nearby. I remember seeing a lot of people working for us. That's what was really good, and I remember having a lot of siblings. But then in 1994, the war began, and then I remember I was a very, kind of a really naive kid actually. In essence, it's a good thing because I didn't know anything bad at the moment, but I remember seeing people carrying knives just in the normal street. So for me, I thought maybe they're coming to help out at the restaurant, and they need to come with their gears and everything. But soon after that, I remember my mom getting all of us to get inside. But then I remember not seeing my dad. Anyway, long story short, we end up just being inside, and up to this date, I don't really have any traumatic experiences about the war. You know how people have post-traumatic stress? I don't have that, and I credit that to my mother, because every time I looked at her, her expression was always good, like very neutral, like she didn't look in distress or as if something was wrong. And so I thought, okay, no problem, maybe my dad just, went somewhere and he will be back. But in the meantime, I could hear what I know now were gunshots, but I thought, oh, what the hell, what are they doing out there? Very naive 8-year-olds. I hope 8-year-olds out there are not just as naive as me. I didn't really translate the real meaning of what was going on. I just thought it was just something else, which I think really has protected my mental health, because now when I look back, I don't see it as something that was threatening to me. Long story short, Now, at that time, I was so young. I didn't even know what success was, but I know for sure that everybody wanted success to be peace at the time. And I remember when we were inside, a group of people were just talking and they came inside the house. Well, they wanted to come inside the house, so they were outside the door arguing. So there was one person who said, let's go in. Let's get in. And everybody was like, no. They have already left. They have already left. Let's go in. And even though I thought everything was fine and I had been naive, but I knew that something was going to go really bad if those people came inside. I just knew that something was going to go bad. Of course, those were killers. And I know for sure that success, even though I didn't interpret it at the time, was seeing my dad and be able to get in and out of the house again. So long story short, evolving now, we flee the country because it's not safe. So we go to Tanzania first, but then we go to Malawi. So I'll talk about Malawi because I feel like that's where I identify myself more, or that's where I have more like vibrant experiences there. So in Malawi, we're living in a very humble house. You arrive, it's like a forest place, and they give you can just pick a spot and build a house. Good luck. So you can do whatever you want. You can make it whatever you like. But, everybody was very crafty and such a big sense of community. So we built this house. We lived there. But unfortunately, in that camp, refugees weren't allowed to work or to go outside. So that was really restricting. And so my parents still took a risk. They would go outside the town so they can continue what they were doing before. Have a grocery store in this new place, really business-minded. So sometimes they would be able to stay a little longer, or sometimes they would get robbed and get their money taken away. But for the most part, they were able to save up some money. And then they were able to actually, because they really value education, so they sent me to private schools where I was able to actually study better. And then at one point, I just remember life in the camp being so, I knew I had so many things I wanted that I didn't have, like birthday dress or the things I really wanted, like what happened to having all the things we used to have, people taking me to school. I missed that life. But I don't remember starving. I don't remember being sad. I don't remember any extreme negative emotions, but I remember the lack of why can't we have a variety of options for food? We can pretty much, when I come to the West, people freak out about starch and they're like, no, you can't eat starch. It's not good for you. And I think, wow, I had starch for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was pretty good. Cornmeal for porridge in the morning, and then you have cornmeal for bread, okay, with beans or something else, and then cornmeal again for dinner. It's pretty good. You can turn out okay. So I don't know. It's not a nutrition talk, luckily, but very interesting fact. and so then at the time, I just remember feeling like success for me was just having that freedom. Why can't we be what we want? Why can't my dad, I know my parents work hard. They could work hard and have the money to buy me a dress on my birthday, but why can't they? So I feel like that was really my success, and also wanting to continue with education, even though they could save money, but I didn't know if they would continue to be able to pay for my school. So luckily, surround yourself with good friends. My best friend Farida at the time, she comes, she's like, hey, we can apply for this scholarship and go to Canada. I was like, oh, really? So we applied. I think when you surround yourself with good people, it's also really part of your success because you can learn from them. And in this case, we both applied. And at the time, 215 people applied and only 15 of us were chosen. I like to say that Canada chose me. So I came all the way to Vancouver. Thank you. And right away at the airport, I got my permanent residence, everything I needed. All the cards that everybody's like, oh, I've spent 3 years trying to find that. Now, I'm very grateful for that opportunity, and I'm grateful for the World University Services of Canada. They're the organization that go around the world and they fund refugee camps, and then they help sponsor our refugee students who can't otherwise have the opportunity to go to school. So then I realized, okay, at the time I thought, okay, now I'm successful. I've got the education, I've got the freedom to live. And then I also, at the time in the camp, everybody essentially had the same definition, because they were like, now you're successful. Going on the plane for the first time. I'm a very successful young woman in this community. I'm coming to Canada, and it was so beautiful. And then when I came to Canada, my view of success then was, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? How am I going to live here? Just transitioning. And then at one point, after I finished my first degree, I was at Fraser University studying health sciences. I knew that I was doing great things. I would help my family. But then I also thought, well, I think I would be so successful if I could not just help myself, but help others. But also, I realized very quickly how success was varied among everybody else. And I think at the time, the things I was worried about that I think would make me successful, such as, being able to have the money to send my family, being able to figure out if I could sponsor them or not, and while also going to school. At the time, I think most people I talked to, they were worried about other things like, oh, my iPhone 5 or 6. I don't know what iPhone number we were at the time. People complain a lot about like long lines waiting for their new phones, and I remember thinking, are you really serious about this? I'm worried about my family's freedom, being able to make a living and be able to have the freedom in their own right. So at that time, I'm expanding my definition to be if I could help myself and help my family. Then I remember coming to the crossroad where I have to make a decision about what I want to do as a career overall. And I remember just having a glimpse into this idea or this awakening that I was really following other people's view of success, because at the time I remember looking back, well, I came to Canada and I just started studying health sciences because I like science, but I never really thought about what I wanted to do. And then I hated making the decision, part of me, but part of me also really loved that empowerment, because up until then, I've been affected by other people's decisions. Well, some people decided to have a war, so I had to leave and not have dresses for my birthday and not have all the things I wanted. So then I remember feeling this like a strong dichotomy, like I don't want to make this decision. I even tried to call my parents, try to ask them, but they have no context of what Canada looks like, so they can't really advise me on career path. And I thought, oh my gosh, so I embraced that decision making, and I ended up choosing to be a nurse because I want to volunteer in the hospital, and then I really loved the combination of, well, talking and science. So that's really how I became a nurse. Now, getting into nursing school, my view of success was pretty simple. Pass. Okay. Nursing school is so interesting because they have their own level of pass. You've probably thought that, passing is like, I don't know, used to be 50, 60, somewhere there, but in nursing school, a course could be like you only pass if you get 80. It's like really, so it's really high standards. And I remember thinking, and if you didn't pass a semester, they will get you out of the program. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is my view of success. To become successful, all I have to do is pass. Then I passed, and I graduated, and I did the board exam, and I passed. And then at the time, I was like, wow, this is it. You know how when you're in school, they tell you life will be better when you graduate. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want in school. And then when you graduate, everything will be better. It's almost this magic wand. It's just for everything to turn around. And then I decided that at the time, my view of success then was work as much as I could, earn as much money as I could, so that I could pay some of the student loans that I've had. Have a car, possibly with really nice warm seats, buy myself gifts, like a dress on my birthday, whatever I wanted. And, just take vacations here and there. So that's what I thought was my view of success. And then I had all that, but I still did not feel successful. Instead, I actually felt miserable. I felt sleep deprived. I actually developed chronic insomnia like a few years into my career as a nurse, because I worked night shifts, but I didn't know how to recover, and then I didn't have time to enjoy my life. But then my idea of success was, but then I need to pick up more shifts. Like, I need to keep up that successful story that I told myself. Well, there I was, thinking that I got the success, but then instead I had this miserable life. And then, you know what, I started making some adjustments, thinking, well, if I can adjust just a little bit, I think things will be good. So I said, okay, no night shifts, all right? No night shifts. When I'm sick, I do want to be able to go there and find the doctor and the nurse and the physiologist and the cleaners, everybody who works in the hospital, there for me when I'm sick at 2 a.m. But I choose not to do it for my success, right? So, and I'm like, yeah, maybe some people have superpower. They can just work at night. Anyway, so then I said no night shifts, and then I start doing day shifts only, and I was working as a palliative care nurse. And I remember taking care of this palliative care patient, and I remember this patient being very inspirational. I learned so much about life by observing death, which you might think it's ironic, but it's true. This particular patient looked very happy in their last days, and it was puzzling to me that was the case. How can you be so happy when you're living? Like, there's so much to live for, I know that. But then they told me that they were just happy to pass because they've done everything they wanted to do, and actually they have enjoyed this life, and it was time for them to go. And I remember having this feeling when people came in, their friends visiting. It felt like, the feeling you have when there's a new baby in the family, this celebration. And I was so puzzled that was the case. And I was thinking, well, wait, this is another perspective. If you can think of success in life from like the point of view of death. Now, I don't want to scare you. The thing is, we all already know. No one is going backwards, right? So we already know that's the fact, okay? And frankly, personally, I'm not scared of death anymore. I'm just scared of how I'm gonna die. It's like, okay, do we get to choose? We don't. But so I figured, wow, if you could think of it from the point of view of death, why would I have loved my life to be? And then at that time, I started to realize that all my life I have viewed success as this like isolated element. I took success and I defined it as a moment in my life. Success is this, A, B, C, and D. But then when I looked at it from this point of view of someone passing on, now I looked at success as this holistic process. It's like a process of aligning your desires, your passions, your purpose, and your interest with your heart and soul. It's something beyond today. It's something beyond this afternoon in the garden. It's bigger. And so then, you're probably waiting, okay, where is the wake-up call? Yes, I did get one. So now I'm thinking, whoa, day shifts, everything should be good, right? So I'm working in the hospital during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. At the time, unfortunately, we're having a staff shortage where we already had staff shortage before the pandemic. But at this time, it became even more apparent, and I found myself taking on the responsibilities of what was supposed to be for one nurse. Like, I would be taking care of patients that was supposed to be for 2 nurses, just by myself. And it was a really hard time for everyone at the time. And I remember just feeling very stressed out about work. And the stress continued to build and build and build. I ran out of my sick hours. I spoke with a therapist like every week. And all these strategies and things I tried to use to cope just didn't work. You know, it's almost like you have this bucket of water and then it has holes in it and you just keep pouring water, but it just never fills up. And then I just remember allowing the denial, just like most fellow nurses out there. We are very good at being in denial about our stress levels. I think it's a very known fact in healthcare, you know. And so I was in denial for a long time. I was like, yeah, but then I can't just, I'm out of sick hours, and even if I had money, everybody's fighting this pandemic. How dare would I like get off and take time for myself? I started feeling that would make me feel, that would appear as if I'm not enough as a nurse. A lot of fears started to build. Like, you wouldn't even be allowed. You know, at the time I think they were deploying people. Like, you go there, and when you are off, can you come? It's like, it was more like you're being asked to help, and how can I leave at that time? That's not really the brave me. And there were so many excuses. That's what I'm trying to say. For me to really maintain that denial phase. But when we are going through life, we do things that are not sustainable, it will always break. It did for me. So I'm walking to the elevator, I'm going home, I'm very overwhelmed. As I step into the elevator, I hear these thoughts coming to me. And it says, if this is the job you will continue to do, if this is the job I will continue to do, I would rather die. Now, I remember stopping, feeling like the whole like hospital was like crashing on me, because I was a happy person in the middle of refugee camp, in the middle of war. I've somehow managed to be able to maintain my mental wellness, even, you know, I'm through the craziest times. Now, when I'm already successful, remember, I've been successful since I got on that plane. Very successful. I got everything that was supposed to make me successful. And yet, my life just seemed to continue to go to the dark side. And this is, to me, was the darkest. People say I'm the sunshine in their lives. You know, on my birthday, I remember one of my favorite messages when my friends told me, may the days shine as brightly as you. So me being that, and then look at that other girl in front of the elevator, that's not her, that's not Jocelyn. And I remember thinking, this has gotten too far. That's exactly the moment I got out of the denial phase, and I went home, I called in sick, and then I said, Jocelyn, I need you to write down all the things you're feeling, all the things you've ignored. And then I started writing, and I filled up the whole page, 8 by 11 page, and included things like nightmares, anxiety, crying, anytime no one was watching, all right? And a lot of bad symptoms, headaches, feeling unhappy, and isolation, depression, and now obviously the worst, lacking meaning in life. I called my doctor. And I asked myself, okay, if you had a patient who presented you this, what would you say? I said, whoa, I would tell them to seek help now. I called my doctor, then I explained to him, like, this is what's been happening with the job. I'm really stressed out, but I'm afraid I can't just quit, and I can just take time off, you know, like, I'm in a contract. I don't think they're going to let me just leave. This is really difficult. I did try to transfer to another location, but they didn't let me leave because my team was really needing a nurse. So I don't know what to do. I feel like I don't have it. Oh, she stopped me. She's like, Justin, this is a free country. You can find a job somewhere else. Okay. And I'm very grateful that I have such an amazing doctor. And then I called in sick, and I put myself on medical leave, and then I said, okay, there is more to this. Okay, now every time we have a problem, can you think of time where you had a really, really personal problem in your life, but you had absolutely or zero responsibility or contribution to the situation? You don't have to answer. But for me, at the time when this happened, I was like, okay, I have a choice. I can sit here and really look at all the factors that have contributed to this situation and do this like personal inventory of what's been happening. Or I can simply just, I look at the other factors and blame other people. I blamed the work environment. I blamed my manager. I blamed the healthcare system. That was easy because our healthcare system is broken. We have a lot of shortage of healthcare workers. But then I was like, the more I blamed others, the more I blamed the external factors, the more like my suffering grew. It's almost like this dark ball inside of me just kept going dark. And the more I did that, the more I realized it wasn't really helping, because I was trying to heal, but I wasn't healing by blaming other people. Then I said, Justin, okay, let's try this, I guess, personal responsibility factor or therapy. I said, okay, I'm going to acknowledge all these other things that have contributed to the situation, all the things that have messed up my life, but I'm going to choose now to focus on only the factors that have contributed to the situation. Then I can only change those factors, and then we're going to move forward that way. Because every time I blamed other people, it brought me into this victimization state, and we can't change from a victim mentality. It makes you small, because when you make yourself a victim, it's almost like putting yourself at the corner, like you are saying you're not really connected to, like, you are not allowing yourself to be a part of this world. You're saying it's them did this to me, I'm not involved. So it's like they somehow push you at the corner somewhere of the universe, so you lose all the power by just focusing on blaming other people. So I did, and I realized, okay, I do have a lot to account for on my end. And long story short, my definition of success was really the problem. Because, when you think about our bodies, there's no manual instructions of how to use your legs, your heart, but there are instructions of how things work. For example, for the brain, you can't give the brain contradicting ideas. You can say, oh, I want to drink tea, but I also want a smoothie, so which one would you like? Are you gonna mix the tea and the smoothie? So yeah, the brain doesn't work that way. It's like, oh, I want more opportunities and I want to achieve my dreams, but then I don't want to take risks. It doesn't work that way. The brain really needs pure desires. And so then I decided that I was going to just focus on my own responsibilities, and then look at what I have contributed to the situation. So when I told the brain, oh, my definition of success is give me more shifts, more work, more money. The brain, and at the same time I'm thinking, but I also want more time to do what I want. I also want to feel abundant. I also want time to be in the garden. I also want to go for runs. But the brain is like, no. If you want more shifts and more money, it means you pick up more shifts, and then you work so hard, and then you sleep deprive yourself because you are always picking up shifts. So the focus is really important. So all this to say that looking at how my view of success shifted, I remember realizing that choice was really at the top of it. Making a choice to give myself permission to own and embrace my own definition of success, not the definition that other people said. According to my village, where I used to be, I was already successful the moment I got into the plane. It doesn't matter if I was happy, right? Although I was really happy getting on the plane, but just an example. So that choice to embrace my own definition was really a big part, okay? And the choice to embrace my decision-making power. And then I also look and I see me being able to engage with my mind, taking time to reflect, to gain clarity. clarity to understand what brings me joy. Because I think when we grow up seeing other people and what brings them joy, and we identify with that. If we don't take time to figure out what brings us joy, it might seem like what brings other people joy is what brings us joy, but it's not really. So I took that time to clarify that. What brings me joy? What makes me feel fulfilled? What does joy look like, feel like? What is fulfillment for me? And then I also looked at, what does abundance mean? What makes me abundant? In what other ways will I be paid? Is payment just money? Or potentially there are other ways to be paid and be abundant? I spent a long time thinking about that. Okay. And then I also looked back and I realized embracing my self-worthiness, remembering that I'm enough whether or not I attach myself to other people's definitions of success. Sometimes these identities, I remember one of the first things that I did when I was healing was I scratched all the titles I have. I'm me, I'm who I am, and I'm happy with that. So that's where I realized that self-worthiness and knowing and owning that you are enough is really was a big part of understanding success, because then it doesn't matter what brings you joy, even if it's not in alignment with other people, but then it brings you joy and you're enough regardless of what you choose, regardless of what your intuition, where your intuition is leading you. So yeah, these are the things that really helped me reshape my success. And there are probably other things that you may have picked up as I explained on the journey. But I want to say that essentially the universe truly today has sent me to remind you that success, joy, and fulfillment, they're not overrated. Please don't listen to those voices saying, no, 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 happiness is overrated. No, you can't be happy. This world, we're not supposed to be happy. We're not supposed to be joyful. No, no, no. It is possible. You can be joyful. You can be fulfilled. You can have vitality. You can live your dreams. Okay, and the mentality that no pain, no gain, scratch that. I know for sure now that success is hard, success is challenging, success is uncertain and unpredictable. But one thing I know for sure, success is no nightmare and it's no pain. It doesn't hurt. It will feel hard and challenging, but it shouldn't be hurting you. And so then I hope that today, listening to my story, you have acquired some insights that can help you on your own journey. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.